What's up, NBA world? It's the one and only legend of winning, aka Low. And yeah, the Lakers suck. They're trash. They're garbanzo beans. And quite frankly, that isn't news to you. I think everybody has already admitted this, or at least non-delusional Laker fans. But what we're here to discuss is, how bad are they? Are they so bad that they might actually miss the play-in, which is crazy because before the season began, if you know me, I was very questionable, had some doubts about how this team was constructed. I genuinely did not believe that they had the pieces to compete for a championship. Now, did I think that they had a good chance to make it to the conference finals? Possibly, especially depending on how the makeup of the rest of the league was going to look, especially the Western Conference. Outside of Phoenix and maybe the Warriors, the Lakers certainly had the talent to compete. But here we are now. And instead of competing for a championship, instead of competing for a finals appearance, instead of competing for even a playoff spot, the Lakers are trying to compete for a play-in spot, with the 11th seed in the Western Conference. And what makes it worse is that they legitimately might not make it because that's how trash they've been. So, let me calm down. So, as I record this video, they just got done losing to the Denver Nuggets. I don't mean that in any disrespect to the Nuggets because they're a really good team, but I say that because if you're losing to the Nuggets, the rest of the schedule is going to look a little bit tough to you. So let's look at the rest of the schedule. After losing to the Nuggets, they have the Phoenix Suns next, then the Golden State Warriors, the Oklahoma City Thunder. That should be an easy win because that team is tanking, but the Lakers are playing like a tanking team themselves, so who knows? And then you have the Nuggets again. Here's what makes things even worse. A, it looks like LeBron isn't even healthy, which is crazy because the amount of games that he's missed over the past 10 to 20 games would make you believe that he's well rested. But if we're like 4 or 5 games left in the season and he's not even rested enough to play the remaining of the games, that's crazy. What makes things even worse is that if you look at the schedule, that is 5 games in 8 nights. That's crazy. What makes it even worse is that the only home game they have left is against the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that they should be beating anyway. What's even more concerning is Anthony Davis was hobbling all throughout the game today. So even after the games that he missed, I don't even know if he's healthy. What makes things even worse, though, is that the game before, when the argument was, oh, just wait until AD, LeBron, and Russ are all on the same court with one another, that's when we're going to be able to judge them. Well, what happened? They lost to the Pelicans. You know what's even more interesting? Not only did they lose to the Pelicans, but when they lost that game, they had an offensive rating of 110 in that game with AD, LeBron, and Westbrook. For the season, the Lakers have an offensive rating of 110. The defensive rating was 113 that game with AD, LeBron, and Russ. For the season, the Lakers have a defensive rating of 113. They're literally the exact same team. The exact same team. So it doesn't matter if they're playing or not. And I know I'm just talking to the delusional ones right now. It doesn't matter if they're playing or not. Please start thinking a little bit more logically. You're running out of games and excuses at this point. Even when they play, they lose. Even when LeBron plays, they have a losing record. It doesn't matter. But here's what makes things even more interesting. Because even though we're talking about the Lakers and the remaining of their schedule that looks very difficult, at the end of the day, it's really not even up to them. It's up to the Spurs. Because the Spurs right now have a game and a half ahead of the Lakers. And they have tonight, if we look at the remaining of their schedule, tonight they play the Portland Trail Blazers. The Portland Trail Blazers, a tanking team. A team that they've already beat 3 times out of the last 10 games. Also, when you look at the remainder of their schedule, just look at most of the last 10 games, bro, they've been winning games. The only game that they've lost out of the last 10 games, or in the last 5 games, was against the Memphis Grizzlies, and that was by 1 point. So you're talking about a Spurs team that already has a lead against the Lakers. Also, if you didn't know, they own the tiebreaker. So even if they end the season with the exact same record, the Spurs still would take the play-in spot. And on top of that, look at their schedule. After the Portland Trail Blazers, they have the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets are a team that's competing for a good positioning in the playoffs, so that's going to be a tough matchup. After that, though, they have the Minnesota Timberwolves, another team actually that is also positioning for playoff seedings. But then they play the Warriors and Mavericks at the end of the year. 2 teams that will more than likely rest their players. The Warriors are actually resting players right now, so I don't know how much they're going to care about seedings late into the season. I truly don't know. So when you look at the Spurs, who already are up on the tiebreaker, and quite frankly, if they win tonight, will possibly have an insurmountable lead on the Lakers, to put into the conversation as well that the Lakers are injured. LeBron didn't play tonight. Anthony Davis is hobbled, and then the next game they're playing the Phoenix Suns. Bro, we are looking at possibly the most disappointing team in NBA history. And I know people are going to say that I'm overreacting, but please remind me the last time that a team that had championship aspirations who didn't even make the playoffs, not a first round exit, not a second round exit, not even make the playoffs. Matter of fact, let's scratch that. The bar to make the playoffs this year is the lowest it's ever been because there's a play-in, and the Lakers are in a position to miss the play-in. This Lakers team is by far the biggest disappointment in NBA history. Now, I know for a fact, people are going to sit there and say, now, Lo, that's a little bit unfair because Russell Westbrook has really the only been consistent star there. AD and LeBron have been in and out dealing with injuries, but here's a problem I have. Here's the problem I have. Super fans or stans, whatever you want to call yourself, you all have to stop doing this because the reality is that you're right. Personally speaking, I know for a fact injuries matter. I know for a fact the rest of the roster matters. I know for a fact THT is straight garbanzo beans. It ain't really much that he's providing. I know for a fact Carmelo Anthony's horrible defensively. I know for a fact that Trevor Ariza has been missing majority of the games, and even when he comes back, he's still bad, which is something that we try to tell people for majority of the season, but Laker fans who are delusional try to sit there and say, oh, let's just wait until Trevor Ariza comes, as if like he was going to be the savior for this roster. We know that. But here's the problem. Over the past 2 or 3 years, really, for LeBron's sakes, for basically his entire career, I was told, what we were all told, is that LeBron is so great, you just put him on any roster in the NBA, he's making the playoffs with that team. Russell Westbrook is so great, you put him on any team in the NBA, he's still going to make the playoffs. Look what he did last year with the Wizards. That's what I was told. So the problem is that, personally speaking, if you take into consideration injuries and how bad a lot of these players played, missing the playoffs is still it's still a lot, but it's more understandable. But when you put LeBron and when you put Westbrook on such a high pedestal of the ability to just carry any team in the NBA to the playoffs, something that I still see to this day from people on Twitter, when you do that, now that's the standard. Now that's the expectations. So it doesn't matter about the injuries because you told me it don't matter about the team. That you can put Westbrook on the Orlando Magic and they will still make the playoffs. That's what I was told. So if that's the case, what's happening now? Y'all are running out of excuses. You're going to have to start waking up to reality. The team is bad. It's just a bad team. And what's even worse is that I don't even know what the Lakers are going to do next. Missing the play-in, That is such a travesty. Like, I don't know if people are ready to swallow that pill, especially when they realize, bro, who are we signing to make things work next year? Who are we trading? What is Russell Westbrook getting us back in return? The type of hole that the Lakers just put themselves in, it's the rude awakening is about to happen. I look at this defensive effort. I look at the way that they can't close games, the amount of blown leads the Lakers have given up to teams. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to watch this team play. So y'all let me know, would this not count as the biggest disappointment or at bare minimum, one of the biggest disappointments? Because I cannot imagine a season where you had this much talent with a level of expectations that people assumed that they were going to be able to reach. I mean, you had ESPN analysts claim that they were going to win 60, 65, nearly 70 games. For them not even a conversation to win a championship, not in a conversation to make a conference finals appearance, not a second, not even a first round exit, because they're not even going to make the play-in. Lowest bar set in NBA history, and the Lakers still can't clear it. In my opinion, biggest disappointment in NBA history. But y'all let me know. Again, I'm gonna put the schedules on the top of the screen right now on both the Lakers and then the Spurs. Y'all let me know, what do you think the Lakers need to do? How do you think they're gonna make it in the play-in? And if not, does this go down as the biggest disappointment in NBA history? And until next time, I'll see you all later. But boy, it is frustrating to watch this team play. But I'll see you all later, man. Peace.